Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's open forum. I'm glad to have you all in today. It is a small crowd, as it always is for our goals session. So, so this is typically the time of year where we review our goals from this past year, how close we are to hitting those, and um, talk about goals for next year. So this has been a rough year in the real estate business. I will talk a little bit personally about myself. I did not hit a lot of my business goals this year for our brokerage and for some of my business achievements were lacking because I did not foresee quite the slow year that we had. Of course, nobody can see when it's going to be a huge year or a slow year. So you got to make these goals. We'll talk a little bit about how we measure them as well. But I did do the things, and I highly recommend this to you guys. I have my other goals I did hit. I did focus on the things I could control. I can't control the real estate market, but I can control my fitness. I can control can't control my family, but I can control a little bit of things with my family, a little bit of things with relationships, a little bit of things that I can control. So I'd had a great year otherwise. So business was tough this year, as we all know, but next year's a whole new year. The things that we put behind us this year, especially at the end of the year with the storms and the election and the rates not coming down, even though the Fed's dropping them and, et cetera. Some of those things are going to get cleared up here in the future, obviously. I don't know when in the future, but pretty soon, hopefully. So we're looking forward to a better 2025. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is if anyone wants to share how they did with some of their goals from this past year, please feel free to do that. You don't have to do it right now. I want to talk about the SMART goals, but please be ready. Raise your hand if you would like to share something from your last year, and if you feel like you did something well, or you came close to your goals, or you're going to reward yourself somehow for one of the goals that you did hit in your personal or business life. Okay, let's talk about the SMART goals. I do this every year when we do this, and I love to do this because it is very easy and very smart to do your goals this way. Specific, state what you'll do, use action words. So we're also going to break down next week. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of homework to come up with some goals for next year. And what we're going to talk about next week is we're going to break down those goals into daily actions of how you actually are going to achieve them. And we've done this before, and I recognize some of the faces, and I know I saw Malvis on here. Malvis has shared with us her goals. She's hit some, she's almost hit others. She's rewarded herself. It's been great. So I know this helps some people, and I really recommend it highly for everyone. Something that motivates you every day, and it depends on your personality type, but it helps every personality type in some way. Specific goals, measurable. I think that in our business, it's pretty easy to figure out the measurable part. Everything is numbers and money and everything else. Whether you use sales or maybe growing your database this year is a goal, or maybe whatever it is, just set these goals and make them measurable. It's really kind of easy with us. To say something like grow your brand, you're going to have to put some numbers on that somehow. And that takes a while. So be generous with yourself at the beginning about stuff like that. If you're getting branding stuff out there, you're advertising in some way, just make sure that you're giving yourself a little bit of grace there on the returns of that, and don't give up on it. Achievable, obviously make sure it's achievable. Some of the goals we set this year were not achievable because we didn't know. So make it achievable. You wanted to have 10 sales or 20 sales or 30 sales or make this much money or that much money. Well, the market's down 42%. And so it's been a little bit tough. But now is the time, as you guys know, between NAR and the market and even the lock boxes and everything else that's been thrown at you this year, you guys, if you're on this call right now, you've made it. You're still going. Now's your time. And you guys are the ones, the 28 people on this call right now are the ones who said, you complain about the other agents who were not good at their job and just didn't know what they were doing. Well, they've gotten out of the way now. Now's your time to grab a bigger piece of the pie, a bigger market share. And maybe that should be your goal, a bigger market share. And that's part of why I do market updates with the numbers of what is going on in the whole. So if you see that when you see, because you're going to, the market picking back up and sales happening again, more and more sales happening, you'll know if your business is picking up at a greater rate or at the same rate or a lesser rate than the rest. So get that market share now while you can, and hold it, and brand. Now is the time to, if you got to cut back on something besides your marketing. That is the things that businesses do when times get tough. The last thing they cut is if a smart business, a business that survives, the last thing they cut is their marketing. They keep everything else going, or they keep their marketing going as well as they can, because that's how you get market share when the rest of the market is down and cutting back. Time bound, relevant, obviously, makes sense within what we do, obviously. And it doesn't have to just be, this one is for business, as you can see at the bottom. It's for small business, which is what we all have. But it's in your personal goals as well. Make sure it's relevant. It's going to improve your life in some way. It says here, improves the business in some way. Make sure it's relevant and it improves your life in some way. And time bound. State when you'll get it done. Be specific about the date or time frame. And they do not have on here rewards. You should definitely reward yourself when you hit your goals, whatever it is. It might be a weekend getaway. It might be a little cruise. It might be ice cream, whatever it is. If it's a small goal that's just a week long or something like that, then you can have that Sunday on Sunday or whatever it is. Right. So make sure that you're doing this, and it doesn't matter what this time can be, guys. This time can be a week, a month, a year, 5 years. Obviously the shorter, the more measurable and specific it can be. So does anybody have any questions about that, or have anything that they want to share about their goals that they had for this past year, or maybe share a success in the previous year? Malvis, I look forward to this every time. And I'll tell you that you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
I'm sorry.
It's a tradition.
Sure is. So yes, like you, Ryan, and pretty much, a lot of us in this call, I also had a slow year. So I had to make some adjustments mid-year in with my goals in regards of what I needed to do personally, because I saw how the market was going and how slow I was in the business. And so I did had a number at the beginning of the year of transactions that I had a number of like money that I wanted to make by the end of the year. And then mid-year in, I had to change that to, instead of an amount of earnings, I had to change it to an amount of transactions, because I didn't know if, being the market how it was, if I was going to be able to make how much I wanted to make by the end of the year. With that being said, I had to shift my mindset a little bit. And I ended up doing more transactions than I thought I would be, because I took on a lot of renters. And yes, rentals they don't make a lot of money, but I saw that as an opportunity to help a family get into a home and start building that relationship that eventually will get me money, hopefully. And so, it's not always, to me anyway, this is to me. I also learned to treat my business how I wanted to treat it, and how much I wanted to make. But for me, it was important to change, instead of putting an amount of dollars as an income by the end of the year. To me, it was important to change, putting an amount of transactions and amount of families that I was able to help. And I did achieve that.
And Malvis, you said the goal of that is to nourish these relationships and create sales down the road,
Yes.
hopefully, and be their realtor, or you never, and stay in touch with them, or any of your friends and family buying, and they know, they know that you took care of them, and they know you don't make a lot of money doing that. They don't pay a lot of money, so they know you don't. So that is wonderful. I think that.
But I was able, Ryan, to grow my database, and I was also able to get two referrals out of it. So changing my mindset like it's yes, money. We're all in this business to we want to make money, but if the market is changing, we have to change with it and change our mindset.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Activity breeds success, and I think a lot of times when the market is down and the bills keep coming in and we're not making the money we had hoped for and planned for and hopefully worked for, you a lot of times you freeze up. A lot of times you get paralyzed and just is terrible. And for you to go out and activity breeds success, and you stayed active and you helped people however you could. And I'm telling you guys, even to put on your name tag and go donate time to a charity or do something like that is great for your business. It is just get out there and get activity, and it turns into deals. It really does, and makes you a living. So that is wonderful, Malvis. That is great. That's brilliant that you did that, and that's what we need to do when times get tough like this. So great job. That's wonderful. Have you started thinking about your goals for next year?
I have, yes.
Okay. If you would like to share those next week, we will. So for those of you who have not yet, start thinking about your goals for next year. Start thinking about your database. Start thinking about your brand. Malvis is growing her brand. As she grew her database, she grew her brand. That's why she has people referring people to her. And if she takes good care of those people, which I'm sure she will, they will refer more people to you. And that is how this business works. And that is how you grow your market share. Right now, you guys want all the bad agents out. The bad agent, I'm not gonna call them bad agents, but the agents who did not have the ability to stay in the market, you wanted them out. You said you did. Now they're out. A lot of you guys, we sat here in 2021 and you guys complained about all these agents who didn't know what they were doing. And you said, I would even take a downturn in the market just to get rid of them. Well, there they go. I can tell you a lot of them didn't renew when the new renewals came in for September, renewing their license. A lot of them didn't renew. A lot of them have quit the MLS and the Board of Realtors and all that stuff. So you guys wanted them out, they're out. Now what? Now is your time to put your money where your mouth was and take back this market share. When we go over these goals next week, I am going to ask you about your specific goals, how you're going to measure them, and we're going to talk about how to actually break it down on a daily basis, what you need to do the things that you want to do. We talk about how you want to, if you've talked to 100 people for every sale that you make, all you got to do is talk to more people, right? It's a numbers game. Let's talk to 200 people and you'll double your business. So what does that mean? That means every morning we're going to make phone calls, or every afternoon we're going to make phone calls, whatever it is. We're going to do that. We're going to get better with our database and have a reason to reach out to people, because some of you guys are allergic to sounding like salespeople, which is perfectly fine. There's always, if you can avoid it, that's always the best. So what's a reason to reach out to people? So determine those reasons. You've got to have their birthday tracked. You've got to have their kids' birthdays. You got to have know what grades their kids are in. So when the graduation comes or they graduate from, I'm so old that we didn't care when someone graduated from 5th grade or 8th grade, but now that's a thing, as you guys all know. You see it on social media. Even when you see it make sure you're following them on social media so you see these things also, and you can congratulate them on their kid's wedding and their this and that. There's always a reason to reach out. So make sure you're doing that, and make sure you're talking to them and commenting and liking their posts and all that stuff. Guys, I know a lot of you aren't social media people, but you need to be to do this job well nowadays. And it makes it so easy, a great reason to call and talk to people. A weekly time blocking sheet's exactly that Brian said. Yeah, please share that with us, Brian. If you want to email it to me or whatever, I will share it with the group next week. That is great. We've talked about that. I know Tammy's on the call. We've talked about that with Tammy before. Time blocking, because she has to do that. I have to do that as well, because otherwise the day will go by. So you have to time block. You have to make reach out to people. And even if it's just a time block to go through your social media and search your previous clients, make sure you're following them. Search them on Facebook and Instagram. And I know you might not like it. You don't have to post a lot. have told you before what you shouldn't post, and we had a social media training a month or two ago for those of you who are interested in that. You should definitely go back and look at that if you didn't before. So we had a title company come in and teach that. So I would like for you to post on there what they were teaching you about the content and the consistency of posting. But even if you won't do that, if you refuse to do that, you say, Ryan, I'm making too much money, I don't have time to do that, then at least follow people and check up on what they're doing and have a good reason to reach out to them. Any other questions? Anybody want to share a goal or have any questions on this? Share a goal, share last year's goals, what came through and didn't. Yes, Chad.
Well, my goals this year got a little held up because I broke my leg. Right as I was starting to get momentum and started getting more business, and then I was down for 3 months. But I was able to start up a new team, and my team member Rodney just closed his first deal ever, so I'm very proud of him on that. Next year, I've got some very specific things in terms of events that we want to do. Actually start getting out there. Some of these events you can sponsor for $125 and get you in front of 4,000 to 6,000 people. You set up a booth, and if 0.001% of those people end up using you as a realtor, you could potentially have some real business coming out there. And trying out new marketing things in terms of spending a lot of my marketing dollars on helping out in local humane society. They've got a thing called Puppies on a Pizza Box, where all I got to do is just print out flyers for them. They put them on the delivery pizza boxes at some of the local places and get put in front of a lot of different people. And we were able to get their top 10 longest residents adopted and pay their adoption fees on there. So even if, I don't get a phone call based off a flyer, I can say, hey, I helped get a dog adopted. But we did okay business-wise, and especially with, adding the mortgage and the title in there too. It wasn't as bad, I think, as I thought it was going to be with the election slowing everything down. But next year, it's just going to keep growing and get momentum back.
Awesome. And Chad, starting from pretty much scratch, guys, Chad is Mr. Ocala. He can help you with anything. If you have a referral up in the Ocala area, Chad can help you with that. He also does mortgage and title, like you mentioned. So get Chad's information. Chad, will you put your information in the chat, please?
Sure thing.
Get Chad's information. Chad's a great resource. Awesome. Congratulations. Sorry about your leg. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I was starting to get more calls coming in just randomly and then suddenly they go, oh, by the way, you're going to have to be in bed for 3 months. And I was fortunate, at least I've already started the team building process. So I had some young, thin people to go do showings for me when I was down. But outside of that, it just brought everything to a standstill. But, just building back up from scratch. And that's all you can do is just call your way back up.
That's awesome, bud. That's awesome. Congrats. So come back with some goals next week, Chad. Even if you don't have to share them, don't want to share them all, pick some that you can share. And let's talk about them next week, please. Natalie.
Good morning, Ryan and everyone. I just think I was a little overzealous at the beginning of the year. I wanted to do 64 open houses and I only ended up doing 20. So I know I'm going to change that. However, I did get a closing out of those 20. So that was a good thing. I got a buyer and that was before the changes. And I just want to let everybody know about Christmas, I send out my famous refrigerator. I'm so old school, the calendars. So I'm sitting here writing out 200. I've got all these going out for Christmas calendars, or a little Christmas card and calendars. And then I was also thinking for my neighborhood to print what has sold in the neighborhood and then deliver my Christmas card with, hey, by the way, here's what's sold with my information on it in our neighborhood. So some ideas. Use the holidays.
That is activity breeding success, and open houses are. And I remember we talked halfway through the year about open houses, didn't we? And you were halfway to your goal. Well, you weren't halfway because you had 64 and you only did 27. But you were at 17 or something, I want to say.
Yeah, I was really vigorous in the beginning and then just nothing in July or August. I don't know if it was too hot to do open houses, but I didn't do any in those 2 months. So now I know.
All right. Well, I'm not going to pick on you, but now is the time to be doing open houses. There is so much inventory, and it's hard to sell stuff right now, as you guys know, because of interest rates and all these other factors. So I'm not going to pick on you, but you did 20 and you sold one. What if you did 60? And then guys, I know you don't want to really think about this because it's not a lot of numbers, but think about the different ways that we make business, that we get business, including open houses, including refrigerator magnets with things on them. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I still have a refrigerator. So, I mean, that can go on there. And I don't, people use those calendars people never used anyway to write their daily activities on. They're too small. So those should still be fine. People still stick those on their refrigerator. The problem with refrigerators now is that the front doors are plastic or stainless steel instead of magnetic aluminum. So they're tougher. But I've got all my stuff on the side, all my kids' art and stuff from years ago on the side of my refrigerator. But so you don't see it as often, but it's there. Everybody still has a refrigerator. That's not bad. And I love sending out things in your neighborhood, guys. Natalie is the poster child for activity breeding success. That's wonderful. Keep it going. We're going to talk a little bit about what Chad was saying. $125 he can sponsor an event with 4,000 people or whatever it was. I think, is that what you said? Something like that, Chad. Just nod if you did.
There's some local crafts fairs and things, maker markets and things that go monthly, and they'll give you a 10 by 10 booth space out there. So yeah, it's less than $200, and you get put in front of a lot of people doing that. Okay,
so let's say it was $200. And let's say since our average home sale at FRI is about $400,000, and our average commission's about 2.5 to 2.75, but let's just do 2.5 so I can do the math, and that's $10,000 of closing for you guys. Okay, we are not pick your favorite pyramid brokerage or whatever you want to. We're not taking 20, 25, 30% of that, right? If you spend, let's say we took 20%. That's what I want you to pretend is that we took that money. We're not taking it, but let's pretend we took it, and you spent that, and you go and sponsor. We say they were 200, so 10 events you go sponsor. Do you not think that's just with our part that we don't take? You don't think that you could get a deal out of 10 events like that if you sponsor 10 events like that, 12 events like that, 14 events like that? Of course you will. That's what activity breeds success. That's why I want you guys to look at your marketing. We're not taking that money. You have that money. You can spend it on Christmas gifts and fancy dresses and fancy wheels for your new cars or whatever, or you can spend it on growing your business. And all I'm asking you guys to do, if you want to be more successful, is spend it on growing your business and have goals. Have goals will help you focus on what you need to do to be successful. And so you don't just waste it willy-nilly. You spend it towards something that's going to help you reach your goals. So whatever those goals are, and that's really, I mean, Natalie's figured that out. So Natalie, you do the open houses, which don't cost you much of anything, a few bucks here and there. Then that turns into, let's say, 1, 2, 3 deals. Those 3 deals are customers now hopefully for life. If you follow up with them, and that needs to be one of your goals as well as your follow-up, you follow up with them, those are your customers for life. And they're going to buy a new house every 5 to 7 years because that's what people do. Their children are going to buy houses. Their friends are going to buy houses. They're, buy and sell and everything else. That $10,000 deal is not a $10,000 deal. That's $100,000 over the next 20 years, however long you're going to be in the business. 20, 40, 60, some of you guys are young and some of you guys are like me. So it's going to be either a little while or a long while, but it's going to be a lot of business. if you follow up, if you do all these things. And so you need to have goals for your follow-up, goals for your marketing, goals for absolutely everything you're doing, your phone calls, your emails, your social media. You need to have goals for all of these things. Tammy.
So first I got Thanksgiving cards. For some reason, Thanksgiving seems a little bit more, I don't know, being thankful sort of goes better to me like than Christmas, and you've got a little bit more time. So first I went and bought all these Thanksgiving cards and was like handwriting these notes. And I was like, that's kind of sloppy, as neat as I try to make it. So then I was like, you know what? I ordered this stationery with matching envelopes. And I did AI generated a letter for me, and then I kind of hand wrote two. It was from two, but then I went into everybody from 2016 forward, everyone that I sold a house to. I looked them up on Property Appraisers, see if they still live there, and then went into the MLS and brought the listing up and did the RVM. And then now RVM's down. You can't print out the pages that you want. You can only print out like the one page that shows, which is a pain. So I printed that. I may have told you all this. Included it in here and sent them out. So I haven't counted how many I've sent out, but I actually sent out quite a few. I don't know if I'll hear anything from anybody. Well, I did get one call from something like this, and I did sell their house. But I've sent more, and then it made me realize, because I saw a few people that had sold, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is why you have to keep in touch with these people. So I am going to be doing this like more often, like for sure at Thanksgiving. And then the people that I sold this year to, I'm going to go by and take them a poinsettia and, just like touch base for this year. Cause they really don't have that much appreciation to send them anything to be thankful for appreciation. But, so anyway, that's what I did.
Well, that is awesome. I absolutely love that. If you want to make yourself sick, then look their names up on local property appraisers and see what they bought. Because
I did. I tracked one. I did track one. It was very sickening. But they used they used Weimert, and they were somebody that they were two dentists, and I did something in the transaction that I learned a huge lesson from, that they gave me like a 4-star instead of a 5-star review. And it was because they wanted me to ask a seller something and I was explaining how the seller would perceive that. And it looked like I wasn't on their side. Mm-hmm. And so when they sold, they listed with Weimert, and then they bought $1 million something on Lake Hart with the same person that sold their house. So yeah, I learned a huge lesson. But I did sense some weirdness between us. The transaction went pretty good, but then at the one point it kind of got a little strained. So anyway,
I don't know those people, but two dentists, if they run their own practices, first of all, dentists make tons of money. I had no idea. Yeah. And if they run their own practice, if they work for somebody else, they don't. But they're also very much drivers. And if they're running their own practice, and you've got to adapt the mindset of your client, not yourself. You have to be a chameleon. And
I don't give any advice as to what. I just do what people want me to do. I don't say,
welcome to being, this is what men go through in relationships. Sometimes you just have to listen and not tell people what you think the answer is all the time, because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear a solution. They want you to listen to them. And that is the hardest thing about being an expert, because men think we're experts in life and we're not. Yeah. But you're an expert in real estate. And when somebody says something to you, it might be the dumbest thing. It would be like if you suggested, why don't you remove that crown and put a cap on this one? And they would say, well, that doesn't work. And you'd say, well, that's not the dentist I like. I want my dentist to listen to me. Right. Right. You don't.
At least I want my dentist doing it my way, not the right way or your way. Yeah.
But you've made phone calls before that and after that where you've called Daryl and said, Daryl, my client asked me to ask you this. I know what the seller is going to say, but
yes,
can you please just ask anyway and get it in writing for me that they think this is a terrible idea and they won't do it.
Right.
Sometimes that's what you got to do for these drivers. And that's, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. We're supposed to be talking about goals, but that is, you've learned that lesson. And I love that, but I'm trying to talk to everybody else too. Sometimes you just got to be a chameleon and be an agent you're an agent for FRI, but you're also an agent for your client. You're doing what's
Right.
best for them or what makes them happiest. And if they want to ask, I know we've all asked stupid stuff before too. And 1 out of 100 times the seller said, okay.
Exactly.
And even the agent will say, I told the seller not to let you guys move in early, but they're doing it. That's a
'Cause
worst
I'm
idea
big, I
ever.
like to try to educate people. So I'm not really telling them, I'm just sort of like educating them, but I'm not going to educate
They're
people.
not
Yeah.
leaving dentistry to be a realtor. So
Yeah.
it's tough though, isn't it? It's tough to not
Mhm.
share what you know.
Right.
Sometimes you have to. And when you're doing sales, you have to let people feel their pain and tell you how terrible things are and say, yeah, that's awful. Oh my gosh, if there was only a solution for that. Oh, you know
Yeah.
what? Here's what might work for you, and after they're all done and everything else. So that's awesome. It's a terrible lesson, but a great lesson.
Yeah.
And what I always
Yeah.
tell you guys is, you've heard me say this before, Tammy, because you've been here a long time. I always tell you guys, may all of your lessons be inexpensive. And that was
Exactly.
not a cheap lesson, but it happened.
Like last night, I was texting a buyer, and she's got really unrealistic. Well, when they sold their house in Lake Mary years ago, it's like $1 million house now. So her taste is very expensive. And she wants a 4-bedroom house for $400,000 to $500,000, which is kind of impossible in the area she wants. And she has to have the 4th bedroom because her parents someday might come live with them and they don't want to put them in the nursing home. And I texted, could you do a 3-bedroom? Because the 4th, and I was like, beep, 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 beep. I erased it because I was like, you know what? Nope. She'll figure it out that what's for $400,000 to $500,000 is disgusting. It's not what she wants. And, she'll have to keep renting if she can't up her budget. So
and
I
you're gonna have
erased
to
it.
show her some dogs. You're going to have to go through it with her.
Yeah.
But you're going to make $12,000 to $15,000.
If we ever find anything.
You will. I mean, if she really wants it, you will. I mean, if she
Yeah.
doesn't want it, then she wasn't going to buy it anyway. She's just going to waste
Yeah.
your time.
Well, she just re-signed her lease, but anyway.
It's money down a year from now. You'd be glad you have it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For sure. And you're given
She
service.
thinks the market's coming down. Prices are too high. She can't get, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll see about this one. I've heard that before,
Yeah, the price of everything's too high, but it's not coming down.
Exactly.
Um,
But I'm not telling her that.
no, that's no. You're doing it. You're doing the right thing. Yeah, she's going to have to figure it out on her own. Sometimes you have to
Right.
let them feel the pain before they want a solution. Nobody wants to be sold anything. They want you to solve a problem for them. That's
Right.
it. But they got to feel the pain. It's like raising kids. You never want them to feel the pain, but sometimes they got to feel it for themselves to learn anything. Back to real estate. Daryl, how are you doing, bud?
Good. How you guys doing? Hey, just to chime in on what Natalie said about open houses, everyone, if you don't have an open house to do and you need one, put it on our site on Facebook. Like who was that just did it this past weekend? And I said, yeah, I've got a great place in College Park. Anybody can have open. It's vacant. It's a good price. I never heard back from anybody. So everybody ask if you can, if anybody else in the company has an open house, or other companies. I do that as well. I don't care who they're for. I just want the open house and the clients coming in. So just thought I'd chime in on that. And actually, Tammy, I just went through that this week with my sellers.
Good. I'm glad I'm not the only dumb one. No.
I'm trying to protect, but when you send an email out or a task, it doesn't always come over as what it should be. And she's like, you're supposed to be working for me. And I'm like, dude, I am working for you. I'm doing this and this and this and this to protect you right now because of what we're doing right here with this. So I had to explain it to her. And once she understood that, then she was like, oh, okay, I guess you are working for me. But anyway.
Yeah. And sometimes you do have to explain after, but that was, that's a tough thing. Tammy, I'm going to say one more thing you're not going to like either though. If you can overcome a 4-star review if you're staying in touch with them. And I think if they would have felt like you're on their side, if you're their realtor after. If they didn't feel like you were on their side, if they felt like you were 90% on their side, and then they never heard from you after you got your $15,000 check at closing or whatever it was, they don't think that you were in it for them.
Yeah, I think they didn't necessarily weren't like horribly not on my, side, but I felt a little weird tension. And so I probably backed off feeling weird about things and I should have just overcome that and, reached out to them. I may have reached out to them. I don't remember. It was a while ago, long time ago.
Well, I'm glad this is you, Tammy, because those of you who don't know Tammy, she is one of our best realtors. She's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah, you really
thank
are. You are amazing, and an amazing realtor, and just a great person to be around, and everything else. And so I'm glad I get to pick on you about this because you do a great job.
Thank you.
So this is an aberration for you, but you learn from it, and that's why you're good, is because you learn from things. Carolina.
Hello. I wanted to chime in on the goals that I set for myself, and then I printed what I did on the MLS, and then I printed what I did on transactions through the paperless pipeline. They don't match. And I know you told us this before, but I don't remember. The ones that you do the new construction, it's not uploaded in the MLS. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's just how do we put
Carolina,
the
you can go in, you need to go in and add those so that you get credit and your numbers reflect that. You go in
I
as
know.
sold only.
Right.
Yeah, data purposes only, or whatever it
Yeah,
says.
in the MLS, because it's helpful to other agents too, but it also helps your numbers in your ratings as well.
So under data, we do it under data on the MLS.
You go in like you're adding a listing, and then
Okay.
you do sold data only. It's very easy. You have to have a picture, because you have to put the front picture in, and then it's very easy and simple, and just a little bit of basic information, and voila, it's done.
Just
And then you
Okay.
have 30 days to do it after you
Oh, but
close.
I know, but these are, I don't know. Let me see. One was in July. I mean,
Well, now you're too late, but after you close, make yourself a note to do it within 30 days.
Okay, two were in February, and then one just yesterday. But the MLS, I mean, okay, but yeah, so okay.
If the company didn't have it listed like in the MLS, like I just sold one DR and I didn't know I forgot that it was in the MLS. I went to add the data, and then I thought, well, let me just double check, and they had already put it as sold, so they did it. But for the most part on these builders, if it wasn't in the MLS to begin with, when you close, you need to go in and put that information in yourself. It's sold
And
data
what
only.
about if they did both sides?
Have them fix it. Contact them,
Okay.
and they have to fill out a form and fix it. But you can demand that, because that's not. They will do that sometimes. Tammy,
Okay.
make sure they didn't do that to you, right, Tammy? It shows up on your numbers.
Yeah, it shows up in my numbers. Yeah, they put my name in there as the agent.
Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. We've had that happen. The only people that can correct that is MLS, and only the listing agent has to send them a correction form.
But if they don't list it on the MLS, we could technically put it in there as
Yes.
Within 30
Yes.
days.
okay. All right, perfect.
Or
And
anything else
then-
you sell a FISBO, you can do that. You can do that on anything you sell that's not an MLS.
Okay, so I'll need to, but 30 days, you have 30 days. So I haven't done anything in 30 days. I mean, I just put it on the paperless pipeline, but today I noticed, I was like, oh my gosh, this is not even matching. And then, because I went from MLS to like new construction, and I've done mostly new construction, and those are not updated. So it is what it is, but I just thought to ask again.
Okay.
I need to put that on my SMART goals for next year to add those.
GK, you only need to be able to produce a settlement statement. GK's asking if you need to have paperwork for that. Just a settlement statement. You don't need to send it to anybody or anything. Just need to have it. You can't lie. If somebody protests it, you're going to have to prove it. But no, that's perfectly fine. Carolina, this is also not just Carolina, everybody. Also, if you help a tenant buy from the landlord, you help whatever, not anything that's off market, and you do it, put it in your numbers. Commercial deal that's on LoopNet instead of on MLS, you can put that in there in your numbers. Okay. So that's for everybody to hear that. You can do that if you care about your numbers and winning awards and stuff like that, then you absolutely should do that. And it helps you say you're a top whatever realtor.
Right.
I mean, you can always prove that if anybody ever calls you on it, that that's not what the MLS says, but you don't put everything in MLS. It's perfectly fine. Okay.
And lastly, I wanted to double check the date to switch over for the Thompson brokerage. I can do it the 31st.
You can do it anytime you want. You can do it anytime
Okay.
you want.
Okay. All righty. And yeah, new goals, new year.
Yes, ma'am. So I want everyone to have new goals next week. And we'll go from there. We're going to go over goals next week. We'll have new goals, both for you can do some of you guys, if you want to do your own personal goals of whatever as well, just things that you can share. You have goals you don't share with us, obviously. But I would love to see some business goals, and we can talk about how you can achieve those just on an individual basis, but an example basis. Monica.
Hey, Ryan. So my question is not related to the goals, but I recently bought a property in a tax auction that I'm planning to flip, and the old owner had passed away like 3 years ago. So everything in the house is still, all his stuff is still there. The 2 cars that are left in the garage, I'm trying to see if there is a way for me to get the title to those properties. I was wondering if you guys have any recommendation, any company or any attorney who can help me get possession of those 2 cars, which are abandoned in the garage of the property I bought.
Oh, gosh. Brian says Lee Massey. I don't know who that is, but I'm sure he'll respond to that. I'm sure there's an attorney that can help you with that. I would know anything.
So I did reach out to a few attorneys, and unfortunately I haven't been able to find anyone who does this kind of work. So that's the reason I'm asking. Yeah, I did reach out to a lot of law firms.
How did you find Lewis and Massey in St. Cloud does wills, trusts, and estates only. I would think an estate would be the kind of person that could help you there, an estate attorney. Is that who you've reached out to?
So I did reach out to one estate attorney, but they were talking about opening a probate, which is a very expensive process, and I don't want to go through that. Since I'm not related to the old owner, it doesn't make sense for me to open a probate. So yeah, I was looking for like something like court ordered title or some bonded title, like if anybody's familiar with the process. Okay, so somebody's saying they know someone. Okay.
G, could you put your number in there, bud? Oh yeah, he did. Okay, there's Jika's number. The DMV may show. Another person maybe will help you as a car dealer. Not a big dealership. Go to like a car person. I know a car guy. If you want, that will help you. I don't know.
Okay.
He's just a car guy who does a wholesaler and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I can put you in somebody who's not going to try to rip you off and take the cars from you.
Right.
So,
Okay.
So I know if you, I got a guy. If none of this works out for you, that I can send you to.
Sounds good.
And I don't know if he does that either, but at least he'll know how to get like a title salvaged or claimed or whatever they do.
Right. Another question is, if we switch to Thompson and Thompson brokerage, are we going to lose our Sentry Lock?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Any other? Yes, you have another question, Mon? Okay. All right, guys. Any other questions about anything? Our goal session is over. Just make sure that you have your goals for next week. And we're going to go over them then. Chad.
I just wanted to throw out there, since I am in Ocala, offers open for any FRI agents who have business to do down here. I do have an office in this location. So if you ever need to do any meetings or anything in this area, I've got a conference room. I've got some floater desks set up. So if you're ever in this area, any FRI agents who need a place to do a little business, just let me know.
That's very kind. Thank you, Chad. I appreciate that. Chad's in the Christmas spirit, everybody. So take him up on it while he's still feeling good. So thank you, Chad. All right, guys. Any other questions before we go on anything, any subject? Doesn't have to be goal related or anything else. Just any other questions before we go? All right. Oh, yes, Carolina.
Okay, this is a little bit annoying, but I don't know how people are dealing with this. The many calls that you're getting from marketers or people that want to uh, have you get listings at closings, and then you have people that are like what do you call those investors. What are people doing? I know we talked about this before, but it just gets a little bit overwhelmed. Do you just hang up? Because that's what I do.
I think that's probably the best thing. If
Okay.
they're calling you out of the blue, if you ask them, how did you find out about me? And they don't have an answer, a legitimate answer of something you've actually done, then they're probably a scammer or a time waster. But
Right. It's
I really believe they are looking for off-market properties that are way below value. Of course they are. Who isn't? I'm not actively looking, but I'll hear about it if you got one. Right? So Daryl says block them.
block them. Okay.
There's
I've
nothing wrong
been
with that.
doing that recently.
I'm giving
I'm
them.
like,
I get them too. It's because we're in the MLS. They've got your number from the MLS. Somebody sold your list somewhere. The board or MLS or somebody sold it. So I block them. I get lots of people want to insure me for health a lot.
oh
They've
man.
got new offers for me 5 times a day. Someone's got
Okay.
a new thing going. And I know because sometimes they do. Sometimes they think I'm Carissa, so they'll let Carissa, and then they called me Lawhun. Yesterday, someone called me Lawhun. We have new things for you. And they call me my last name. They call me my first name. They don't, they're just bots of some type. And, but it's always, this is Jordan, this is Susie, this is Bill. So I just block them. The same with the investors who, hey, they'll send the same message that they sent a month ago. Hey, have you heard of any off-market properties and stuff like that? So just, of course, they want off-market steals, right? Who doesn't? All right. So any other questions? There was Carolina, somebody else had their hand up. All right, guys. Any other questions before we go? What's in the chat? With all the scam and spam calls, what's the best way to continue today? Blog, DMV, show. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you all for coming. Any other questions before we go? Going once, going twice. All right. I will see you guys next week. We're going over your goals, and we'll learn how to attack them on a daily basis. And thank you all for coming. I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.